All right, hi. Again, my name's Anna. I'm a junior design consultant at DevMind all the way out in Chicago, and I'm here to talk to you about rethinking personas. So I think that personas work really great on a marketing level, but for UX, I think they can be warmed up just a little bit. We're all here because we love designing for people. That's why I wanted to work in UX. So it seems to me like bringing human-centered design into everything that we do is something that could be really great, not only for us, but also the people that we're going to serve. So when you think of human, right, like what are some things that come to mind? For me, I think of something really just emotional and all the little nuances that make up me, right? And it's messy, but it's also warm and it's energetic. And it's something that I think should be celebrated, especially from us. But if we take a look at what a definition of a persona is, it feels a little cold, right? And that could just be the definition, but I think that practices really follow their definitions. And because of that, I think personas can be a little cold. First thing is that personas are kind of fake, right? Fake stories, fake information, and it really removes us from these really beautiful stories that we've been hearing from our research. The second thing is personas sometimes don't really feel very actionable, right? Like we know for a fact that the product that we're going to make needs to work, it needs to be usable, so do we really need to know if our persona uses certain brands or can use the internet in a certain way? I don't think so. And personas put people into buckets, and this makes sense, right? We're categorizing people to save our mental energy to work and to create things, but it doesn't really work when those buckets really sort of erase that nuance that I was talking about earlier. So what can we do about this? I've made a list of 10 things that I've done and that you can do to really sort of bring that warmth back into your personas. And I kind of use like pretending to make an app for friends that are planning things. The first thing you can do is to consider how people actually interact with one another. Relationships between people are really important, and you can sort of map this out and create something very visual that you can use later to really illustrate how your personas end up working together. And you've done the research, synthesis, analysis, right? You kind of have a general idea of what your product should do. It's like kind of a cheat, right? But if you list this out, you can bring it in later to make your persona a lot more actionable. The third thing is to actually sort of like needs are what drive people, right? And needs are what can drive your product and what can drive your persona. Like flesh them out, include like motivations, frustrations, things that you would already include the persona, but bring them into the needs and make the needs central to your product. And you know, as UX designers, sometimes we don't really get the opportunity to work with visuals, and this is a really great time to do that, right? How can color, shape, type really shape the way that we're telling these really beautiful stories? And then, like a huge part of that is imagery, right? There's literally nothing more literal than taking a giant picture of a human and like putting it in the middle of your persona, right? Really, literally human-centered. But in a visual perspective, like you're really drawn into that person, and you can understand the things that they're going through. And you don't have to tell their story in a way that's like fake, right? And have that removal. Like you can maybe use information that they jokingly refer to themselves as. Like you can still communicate very sort of truthful understandings of who they are without having that sort of fake understanding. And by using that map that you created earlier, you can bring in these elements back into your persona, right? Actually using imagery of people, like these are the people who I interact with, right? It feels more human, and you can actually create that community between your personas for your product. And if you actually bring in real content, right, highlight your most impactful quote, partner it with that giant picture of that person, and it feels very human because there's a giant picture and here's the things that they're going through and the things that actually sort of work with them to create the things that drive them. And once you figure out like the really impactful parts of those needs, if you bring in those quotes in like a very visual way into those needs, then you end up really driving them forward, right? Because nothing's more human than the words that we say. And if you end up like actually taking that list of products, like that kind of that little cheat that I was talking about earlier, then you end up saying, okay, here's a need, and here as a designer is what I can do about them. And then it feels very actionable, and it feels like something that could actually move forward. So what you end up getting is something that feels a little bit more dynamic, a little bit more actionable, and definitely feels a little bit more sort of, has that emphasis, right, like on the person, what they need to do, and what you can do as a designer to really sort of connect with those people. So for me, that not only creates empathy, which is our like famous buzzword, right, but it also creates like a compassion, which I always felt was a lot more actionable, and in a way can really sort of end up serving the people who we want to serve. Thanks.